What's going on, people? Welcome back to the NLG podcast. North London is red. Sol Campbell is a legend. And we're going to sign Benjamin Tesco. We're going to get into all of it today. Like and subscribe to be a part of the NLG fam. You know what it is. And yeah, we're going to be breaking down the Tottenham game, looking ahead to the Villa game. And then we'll bring it and wrap it all up with a lineup builder and give our score predictions. But first and foremost, what a match yesterday. I feel like you could hear the energy from the stadium. We managed to turn around a 1-0, a 1-0 in the first half from Son, and we managed to turn the game around and come back 2-1. But firstly, before we get into any of that, non-techie, what are you saying? How are you been?
I'm good. Feeling a bit conflicted, a bit of like a heart and head issue around maybe just like feeling the high of this game, but then also thinking about how the season's been. And I guess it's okay to feel that, but like happy with the 3 points yesterday.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I want to delve more into that as well. France, what are you saying?
Good. Again, yep. You always want to beat Tottenham. You always want to go into a North London derby and just
light work
play.
Light
yep.
work. Done a quadruple over them.
Around, send them back. Yeah. I mean,
moved from south, came to our ends and batted it up. You know,
that's right. That's right. And now we've taken over and we're not going back. So just extended our territory.
I mean, they call him Soulless Campbell, but he wanted to win things. So he wanted to win.
He came to the right place to do it. He came to the right place to do it.
How have you been, NLG? Like that, by the way.
What's that?
Sorry?
I forgot his voice sounded like that.
It's honestly,
like,
same.
It's
so funny. It's so funny. He said, I wanted to win.
Yeah, he did.
I wanted to win things.
And he's proper backing the emotions of it.
And this is what Son is saying. And he said, not me. I'm from the streets. I'm from the streets. He started, and I said,
"Oh, is he?" I was like, "I have to look at this."
Yeah, the thing is though, if it's Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, he's clamping. You don't chat about, don't be chatting about his voice or nothing. That's what's sick about Sol Campbell. He'll show you what's good.
When it comes to the football and he's on that pitch, he doesn't speak. He just plays. Plays.
And I feel like yesterday was almost. We came out to play. You could see there was an immediate reaction from the team, knowing that we'd gone off a draw to Brighton, a loss to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, which will most likely knock us out. 90% chance we go out, probably 99. And then the loss to Man United, which was absolutely atrocious because who even are Man United in the FA Cup knocking us out. But yesterday, non-techie, we'll stay with you. What was your assessment of the game? As you said, we had our lowest of lows and obviously our highs in beating Tottenham, but they are also just the team down the road. But anyway, let me know what you thought. What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I can't lie. It's the fixture I definitely look forward to, in particular because I think we've got broader, more ambitious objectives within our season. And we know for them, I'm not even trying to be like, this isn't about like tribalism at this point in time. But they would rather just have us lose to spoil our season than to have them win and just get 3 points or maybe try and get into like the European places. It's not happening for them this season. So I think for all of those reasons, I just love to get one over them. Just to say, like, just quiet down, boys. We'll see you at the second half of the year or whenever we're next to you. But I was elated. If I'm going to be honest about the game as well, it was kind of entertaining. It kind of felt like you're in the middle rounds of a boxing match where both teams are really going for it. There wasn't too much of that like sideways tangential passing, and there were sort of mini games. People wanted to beat their man. There were nice passages of play. You rarely see those games like that, and I guess it's probably testament to the way I hate to say this, to the way like Tottenham play, the way Ange plays. Like that's who we are, mate, Ange. But he is naive, unfortunately. But unfortunately for us, we took advantage of it as well.
Yeah. France, on that point, and being naive in ways, and he always sticks to his principles, something Amarin's mentioned, something we've seen Arteta be stubborn with. And, some of the great managers really stick to their principles and don't change. Did we get that win and play well yesterday because Ange played into our hands, playing the same high line he usually does? or was it more down to our effort, our ambition, and just the fact we were playing more free-flowing football? What would you afford it more down to?
Funnily enough, it's a great question. But I am going to play, I would say, a role that is more natural to you, basically, which is fence sitter. And in this particular case,
He's hosting.
and in this particular case, I would actually say it's a combination of all of these things. We did attack more than we usually do. We did have a lot more presence in this game. We had a lot more vision in this game, and we really decided that we were going to go for it. But in conjunction, we definitely had Tottenham putting forward a greater high line and really trying to go for the jugular. We kind of saw the same things with the likes of PSG, etc. And these are teams that we actually went out and beat quite convincingly because they actually do come out of their shell and decide to actually play football. You're not going to get that everywhere. The effort from the team was definitely much better. The performance was much better, but you will find that when it comes to the North London derby, because of the history of it, because of the fact that, you know, the rivalry and the deep-seated nature of the fan, I wouldn't call it hatred, but definitely rivalry between the two groups, which definitely loops back into the sort of player on pitch rivalry as well. We saw tiny bit of rough and tumble, and that's always good to see. It's not a bad thing. And so I think it was enjoyable, but I think it always is a game that kind of elevates beyond whatever the case is. So even if Arsenal are doing well, like in the previous 2 seasons, last season towards the end, let's say, or towards the latter half, even if Tottenham are not doing well, but Arsenal are, Tottenham will still raise their game, raise their level for that particular match. You'll see it in other derbies. It might be an Everton, Liverpool.
Form goes out of the window.
Form goes out of the window. Yeah. Recent history goes out of the window, and they're there to play. That one match is a cup game almost.
Yeah. Very true. Like, I would say, looking at that game, it's definitely a balance of the two. But I do think Ange played into our hands, and even with that, when we look at the match stats, you can see it was a game of, as Arteta's favorite phrase, fine margins, in the sense that Tottenham scored a goal about 20-something minutes in, 25 minutes in.
Can we zoom in a bit as well? Sorry.
Yes, yeah. After not being in the game at all. They weren't in the game for the first 25 minutes. We were dominating. Trossard and Sterling were running down the flanks. Rice and Odegaard were actually doing very well in their positions to put pressure on. And really just force the issue. But
I loved Rice yesterday. He was top.
Rice was quality all over the shop. Set piece delivery, insane. He was just, defending in the 6, attacking in the 8, and whipping in, some of the best balls you'll see all season.
Running the show for parts of
it. Yeah, for real.
Madness. But yeah, Tottenham only had 2 shots on target, one of which, we conceded a goal from a cleared corner, which just felt so cheap and trust Son to score against us out of nothing, which shows the clinicalness of just him in the derbies, but also, again, what we're speaking about, 2 shots, 1 on target, done, and we're down a goal. But I feel like the team really fought back. Non-techie, what was it you think that was? Obviously, it's a derby, so that's a factor. But do you see something that was different in the way we built up, the way we knitted things together? Was there something you saw that was different in us? Aside from the fact, obviously, it's a derby, there's a pressure of we can't lose this game. Even though there was a pressure of we can't lose this game for Man United and for Newcastle, we still did it anyway. So, yeah.
I think the main difference was essentially the opposition, how they set up thematically, being open, essentially, and that enables us to play through them. If you think about the games that you mentioned, playing against Newcastle, playing against United, they kind of respect the defensive aspects of the game almost to a fault, to the point where, like, unless they have like individual moments of brilliance, they rarely get out. So against Newcastle, it might be an Isaac. Against United, it might be a Bruno, for example. Whereas I think Tottenham's issue is that they play almost as if they're a better side. And I say this in the sense, if you're going to be that expansive, you need to make sure that your back line are good enough in the one-to-ones, for example. So you don't need people having to come back and recover. Because nowadays, like, the meta of football is doubling up, getting your two banks, and then defending from there. And I think that was the main thing. And that's why you saw lots of attacking play throughout the game. It was almost, in some ends, or with some capacity, a bit like a basketball game, but within the context of football, in a way it was kind of like end to end. And even it felt like it was cage football at some point. You saw people like trying to take people on their places. You see the passes open, and then Miles Lewis Skelly would just like put his head down and start dribbling again. So you know that thing you just like feign as if you're going to pass and then you dribble. You saw a lot of that, and so like I think to your point, there was something about the derby in it when the crowd get behind you and the players get a bit gassed, maybe. But I think that's it. We could play against Villa in the coming days with the same lineup, with a similar strategy, and you notice the opponents will stop you from playing like that because their first principles when they lose the ball is to not try and give you a defend with a mid block. They go into that low block and say, "Okay, break us down. We'll force a mistake from you."
Yeah, 100%. I'd say, from my perspective, I'd love to hear yours, France. From my perspective, I think what also helped a lot in that game was these two. I'm gonna put this Donny on the screen. This guy yesterday, he's a centre mid, and I was even speaking to a colleague of mine.
Is that Raheem Sterling?
Oh, bro, definitely not. This guy's got a career ahead of him. He's not towards the end of it. Talking to my colleague, and I was telling him, yeah, like Skelly's a centre mid, and he didn't even know. He was like, wow, I thought he was literally just a natural left back, and he'd been playing like that. Yesterday, he played like he'd been playing derbies, North London derbies for years on end. And it's not just the possession he won, you know, for anyone listening via audio, 46 touches, 30 out of 32 passes completed, 6 possession won, 6 final third entries. And this is the point I want to make on the final third entries. Yesterday, Timber and Skelly were really moving themselves up that pitch and allowing us to dominate the attack. That's something we really missed against Newcastle. We were almost too scared. I think some of it could be tactical as well, but it seemed like we were too fearful to even move that high up the pitch. Saliba and Gabriel are such great centre-backs. I genuinely think you can trust in them to do that. When we played our best football, we allowed Ben White to go overlap. Even if it was one side overlapping, it adds so much difference. And yeah, France, what did you make of Skelly yesterday and his just performance out of left back?
I think his performance was quite well summed up by the portion of the game in which he got subbed. He walked off, or rather was pushed off the pitch by Tottenham players, and he lifted his armpits and the whole stadium went wild. Yeah. Everybody loved him. He is phenomenal in his position in general. He is, I said it last time, he's a lot like Partey. There you and it's coming up. And they loved it. And I loved it. This is Arsenal. This is Arsenal. And I know everybody's different, but the really quiet, sort of demure, sort of Arsenal that nobody does anything, nobody speaks, we want a bit of this. He's actually done something as well. We see Erdegaard do it sometimes, and we're like, nothing's gone on, bro. Like, relax. But this is what we're looking forward to. I think he had a great game. I think he forces the issue going forward. I think his vision, his interceptions, his ability to really analyze the game, and before things have happened, he's 2 steps ahead. He knows what you're trying to do. Essentially, I said last time that he is Partey at left back. He is midfield Partey at left back. We're not talking about right back Partey. We're talking about midfield Partey at left back. all the things that Partey does there, the press resistance, the invitation to the attackers to basically come up onto him and pressure him and then turn out of that pressure and then lose 2 men, delete 2 men from the game. His ability to potentially pass and delete the midfield if he needs to. He can spray a ball out wide if he needs to. But then he can also push up, just move forward and allow the rest of the midfield to also push up and add to the numbers in attack. And then his decision making. I always say that age is not the determining factor of how good a footballer you are. But I must say that his decision making seems to be a bit beyond his years. Or at least compared to a lot of the other players in the league. The players in this league who are much older than him, we just don't have a clue about end product.
Yeah.
But I feel like he does that on a regular basis, and he definitely encapsulated that during the game that he played. And I could talk about him for hours on end, but I'll leave it there. It's just phenomenal. Well done to Lewis Skelly. Well done. He spoke to Wrighty at the end. Sorry, just one more thing. Spoke to Wrighty at the end, and Wrighty could say nothing but great words. He had nothing but praise for him. So well done, Lewis Skelly.
Nah, big up MLS, man. I had the whole fam in the stadium yesterday. And Nonteki, what do you make of him and what he is for our future? I mean, we signed about a whole squad of 11 of left backs, and luckily the one we're left with seems to be our brightest spark for the future, more or less.
I think what I'm hoping, is 2 things, maybe 2 sides of the same coin, if I'm saying this correctly, is that number one, there's more of an established pathway into the first team. I think we lost like Chido Obi Martin. You probably didn't see enough of a convincing project for him, but we've seen Waneri and now Mars Lewis Skelly coming to the team, which is great. But in addition to the points about a pathway, I'm hoping there's enough quality coming through from the academy as well. I think I saw online that having like an academy product is probably the closest thing many of us will get to feel like having your own son or like brother in the team. And so like the way he celebrated, I felt conflicted, by the way, France. When he celebrated, I was like, oh, aren't we meant to defend the corner and we're making subs? And like in amateur football, at least, it's an unwritten rule that you don't make subs when you've got to defend the corner and make the subs. And I was like, oh,
but it does make sense, doesn't it? Why would you? The amount of disruption that you can cause, and then also have a group of people who are about to come on who potentially are not settled within the game.
That's
level of focus might not be there. They haven't even had a touch.
And then you need to like just tune up the crowd. Like it could turn the stadium toxic, but it never happened. So I'm just really happy for him, and I'm hoping that there are more academy products who can really see a pathway, who have the quality, and can be integrated into the team.
100%. And then I'll quickly move on and take things on there. We equalized down to set piece FC again. Nicholas Yova FC. Rice with the delivery. Insane delivery again. Hits it back post. And, well, Gabriel, we thought initially got the goal, but they marked it as an own goal by Solanke. But, man, I think it's 12 set-piece goals this season. Like,
12.
How crucial are they? Is it 12?
12.
It's honestly insane, the output. I'm going to give Gabriel that credit for that goal. Like, I know they've marked as an own goal, but how mad is Gabriel? Like, guys, for real. Like, how nuts is this guy? Like, he's just unreal.
Can I just say, like, I, for a while, thought he's definitely one of the top centre-backs in the league, but also maybe the best centre-back in our team. Like, people always disagree with me about this, but if you're thinking about, like, the core skills a centre-back needs, I think Gabriel's probably hitting a lot more of those markers, and Saliba is really close. I think of late, Saliba's just been challenged a bit, whereas Gabriel doesn't necessarily allow strikers to bully him as much. So goals aside, I actually think he's one of the best centre-backs in the league. I just think his goals, whilst they're great and sort of equalise for us and bring us like wins, I think they overshadow his general defensive capabilities, and he's an absolute leader when he's out there.
Bro, this tackle, like the amount of control and timing you have to not put this one in the back of the net, and also ensure you're clearing that.
Because you could knock that into the attacker.
And honestly, he's got two men to mark, so his run changes. So his run changes at some point. If you just play it, can you see he's got a man left and right of him, and he's keeping track of Solanke on his blind side.
Yeah,
But he's got the wearable to know that if the ball comes short, I'm going to sprint over. And he doesn't gamble. He makes a good assessment. Look at that.
Insane.
Just such smart play. Remains goal side almost the whole way of both men. And he just phenomenal.
Just wild. Even you can't believe it. Insane. Just different level. Gabby at the back, Gabby in attack. And it's not Gabriel Martinelli in attack. That's for I'm sure. So, yeah. All right. So that was 1-1. And a player I want to speak about who gave quite a, I want to say arrogant, or not, maybe not arrogant, but reactive celebration, Trossard yesterday. And I want to shout him out for multiple reasons. He's been washed for the past few games. Let's call a spade a spade. And deservedly, between him and Martinelli, neither of them could hold down that position. But my word, the way this guy was balling out yesterday, I could not believe it. And I'm going to share screen because this needs to be on screen until the next London derby and forevermore. Whatever this guy decides to do, whether he signs a new contract or not. The way Paul sat down, folded, Samsung Galaxy Flip, I don't know. The guy just got ruined.
Ref should not have stopped that, by the way. I know he has the discretion. It's at his discretion, basically. But, I mean, you just got skilled. That's it.
You just got... Exactly. Why are you stopping the game? You just witnessed greatness, bro.
He, I think he found the perfect way to mimic a beach deck chair. The guy got folded. He got folded.
You just dropped.
There was... I've never seen somebody hit the deck like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, he looked like that looked like a serious injury for a minute. It looked like
it was a
very
mental
serious injury.
It was psychological damage more than anything, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, I hope this galvanizes Trossard because he was on the floor for a while.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Look at this.
Why are you zooming in on that picture?
No, bro.
Yeah, his legs were doing some unnatural movements there. Bro. It was ridiculous.
You just have to fake an injury at that point.
Exactly. Just good.
You have to blame it on something else. That was awful, but it must have been the ball. It must have been the ball that did it.
Yeah, it's the ball. 42 panels. 42 panels. Trossard was insane yesterday. And we're gonna speak about his goal, which starts with Partey. This guy as a 6. Now, Arsenal have done again wonders. Yeah, wonders that shall never end, and signed a player for the summer transfer window that in Zubimendi, who's a 6. But Partey, who I imagine will probably go this season, this summer transfer window, the tackle he makes on Jed Spence to allow us to capitalize and counter-attack on Tottenham. Again, the way we applied ourselves yesterday with the speed and intent, in most games, we wouldn't see us react like this. Partey basically makes a tackle on Jed Spence, which releases the ball, I think, to Sterling, who plays it to Odegaard quickly, maybe. And Odegaard plays an outside of the football to Trossard, who's on the left wing, who drives, takes a few touches, and straight left foot shot.
Conviction.
So many actions in that move. Partey's interception, a quick pass, quick 2 passes, and then a shot from basically outside of the box or near enough are things that are uncanny and we don't see enough in this team. What did you make of the goal, Nonteki, to start with you and then France?
Yeah, the goal was, I said conviction as you were just going through it. If you watch Trossard's actions, I think he first takes a left foot touch, maybe sort of paces himself with a couple of right foot touches, and then just decides, I don't need to run onto goal. I've got the ability to do this. And like, when the player takes a shot where they're weak foot, you kind of see them take like a stutter steps to sort of like assure themselves. He doesn't break his stride. And when he hits it, it's just clean. Keeper might have got a touch, but like the finish was excellent. And as much as like I love him getting that winning goal, it just reminds me of his ability. I'm like, why are you not like this even half the time? Because I literally think he's probably our most technically proficient forward. So like when you see him like sky shots or not even control touches, you're just like, you're so much better than this. So I was really happy with the goal. And yeah, like you said, in the build-up, Partey's interception or tackle even was incredible. It wasn't just gambled. I don't know if it was just Spence or Bissouma. I think Spence picked up the ball, played inside to Bissouma, and then maybe Partey dispossessed him. And then
that was correct.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I feel like it might have been last week against United. Martinelli had a similar breakaway move, but it was probably a bit more central. And it was a similar type of play, right? Yeah. Normally, and I think this is an Arteta thing, we play this safety pass. When actually that first pass, if done correctly, can really release us, and then you're through and go on the counter attack. And so, yeah, I just want to see more of that. And hopefully, they're reviewing those videos and doing their analysis and seeing, just like the corner kicks, this is a really powerful tool we can use.
Yeah, 100%. France, what did you make of it? And I think to Non-Techie's point as well, that's the frustration in that move. Is like, why can we not do that and break like that more? But yeah, what did you make of that and just Trossard overall, actually?
I think going back to both of your points, the bits that you put in at the end, we really, honestly, have to start playing like this. In that piece of play, we showed everything that we've been wanting for months now. It was the idea, the ideology of what a team should do going forward. It was taking the initiative. It was not wasting time. It was catching the team unawares and surprised. It was being opportunistic about the scenario that we're in. It was about understanding the numbers game, right? Once we've nicked the ball off them, and positional game, once we've nicked the ball off them, they are not in position, they're not set, they're not focused, and then the numbers that we could basically apply in that scenario could start to overwhelm them. Or even if it doesn't overwhelm them by sheer numbers, you have good enough numbers against the odds that basically tell you that there's a possibility that you could score here. There's a greater possibility than when they've set up 2 banks of 4 here. The quick pass just said, right, we're definite about this, about where we want to go. It gets the ball to the next individual earlier and allows them time to make decisions. It allows people to be reactive, but also proactive, because I can immediately start making a darting run, which is both reactive and proactive. You've now got options, and those options that are moving do not allow their defenders to react to them moving quick enough to basically block off passing lanes, which you will see people do when you play that slow, languid Merino ball. We don't want that.
It was reminiscent of Liverpool, though, the way we attacked.
Very much so. And there is a very good reason why they're on top of the league at the moment. There is it makes sense to everybody but Arteta, apparently. So yeah, I thought it was very, very good, that piece of play. I thought Trossard looked a different player. I like him, and I always think that he has the capability to play like that. And I am one of the people who has backed him quite a lot, but then recently I've had to basically hang my head and say, you know what?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it's working. But he pulls this out of the bag. That doesn't mean, oh, now he's the guy.
Of
it
course.
Just means, again, he's showing us what it is that he's capable of. Is he capable of doing it day in, day out? Is he capable of bringing us the consistency that we require and that he requires to be able to stay at the club?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Well, apparently he might not want to stay anyway. He gave us the like, are you seeing what Guan is? He gave us all of that yesterday. But I really do think Trossard's better, or would be better as a left 8 than a touchline winger, or sticking him out wide against most players or most right backs who will be pacier than him. But we'll see how we mix it up. And before we go into the roundup of the end of the game, which I think, we had some touchy moments. Solanke hit the post in the final moments, which is tense. It's always tense when you're 2-1 up after such a horrible week to try and hold on to the lead. And I think we tried to pace ourselves in the second half, I reckon, while still trying to go for the game, which I liked. We were trying to get more goals, which once again, we saw the need for a goal scorer. But we were also trying to be more cultured with the way we were playing too. But Sterling yesterday, who had to come in, he's what, our fourth choice right winger. I want to know what you both think on him, because he's a player who had very bold words in his transfer video when he came to the club. Arteta has not trusted him pretty much with a single minute, apart from Preston? Was it Preston? Can't even remember who it was up against. And I feel like between today and United, we saw glimpses of things he can do. France, we'll stick with you. How did you find them out on the right side?
So I find that with some space, he really is able to take his man on. He's able to sort of apply an immediate burst of pace and drive towards the line. And at times, he does actually look like he can deliver a ball which could be dangerous. He probably needs some refinement in that area. But again, he hasn't played that many games. My fault with him kind of lies in sometimes his defensive abilities, which we know are not the greatest. We knew that before he came. But secondly, it is kind of whenever there's any pressure on him physically, he just does not have the strength or the weight or the wherewithal to sort of keep himself upright a lot of the time. But again, I think he does need more game time. He does need to be able to come into it. And on the point of sort of putting in balls and needing some refinement, sometimes his target is not there. And usually when we're talking target, we're talking Kai Havertz. And Kai Havertz wasn't great that game at all. I don't know what to do with him. He had an opportunity where he slid. He put in a slide tackle. He managed to get the ball off the goalkeeper. And then he stood up and the ball was trapped under his feet for about 20 minutes. I don't understand how you can play like this as a professional.
Yeah.
But again, he didn't buy himself. He didn't sign himself. Slightly adjacent to that point is talking about getting an attacker. We've needed one for ages. Arsenal haven't done it. All of a sudden, they look like they may be getting a striker. They look like they probably, or there's news circulating around talking about Benjamin Tesco. But apparently, more news has come out saying his agent has said he's not going anywhere, which I hope is true. Hopefully, we get someone else. But somebody.
We might have lost him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. But no, the point on Benjamin Tesco, yeah, we'll get to that. But Nonteki, on Sterling. Oh, you here? You here, bro? I think you might have.
I think his internet's come back in, yeah.
Yeah,
coming back in.
I'm back.
What are you saying, France? Yeah, sorry, what were you saying about Tesco?
Yeah, I was just saying,
Every little help.
Waitrose personally. Yeah, I prefer the Waitrose. Yeah, I prefer the Waitrose. Yeah, no. Let me not be bougie, but Benjamin Tesco, people are really. This is a really weird thing about Arsenal fans. You go online and they are hyping him. I think he scored about 7 goals, and I'm not saying he's a terrible player by any means, but is somebody who scored 7 goals up to a level raiser? Is this really what we want? So our 2 attackers, because Jesus, who had to drive himself home the other night, he's out of it. He's out of it. He's had multiple injuries, like ACLs on his right knee. He's now got an MCL on his left knee. He's out of it. So we're now going to end up with Havertz, who's probably on about 7 goals, and then Benjamin Tesco, who's also going to be on about 7 goals. Is this really is this really our ambition?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough from me.
It's a very valid point, and I'll come straight back to that. Non-techie, quickly on Sterling, and then I'll actually circle back to that conversation.
My thoughts on Sterling are he reminds me of a really tricky type of player in a sense. Normally, when you're coaching a player, you're trying to add skills onto him. With Sterling, the one thing I want him to do is maybe to just pick up his head. He's got a bit of the Martinelli about him because he tends to try and dribble down cul-de-sacs instead of picking and choosing his moments. He'd be a much more productive and effective player if he just decided, particularly when you're a right foot on the right wing, right? Everyone's going to just show you towards the corner flag. But if you're playing on the left, you have a bit of freedom to sort of drift in. So, yeah, I disagree with everything France said essentially, but I'm hoping he will start to develop a rhythm and then understand how to work with his teammates. He'll be more devastating.
Yeah, man, he needs to go from Velma to Sterling, man, and start scoring some goals because, brother, I don't know. But honestly, I think, yeah, he showed, again, he was finding himself in some spaces that I think could really hurt teams. My only thing about him is, since he's been playing more regularly, and again, he hasn't, I say playing more regularly, it's only this game, really. Decision making. Sometimes he needs to let go of the ball earlier, just a bit early. He just holds on to it for too long. Like there was a time where like he could have passed to Odegaard earlier when they were breaking. He picked the ball up in the middle of the pitch, drove. Trossard, I think, or Odegaard were splitting on the left, and he just held on to the ball for some reason. Oh no, I think it was Martinelli even passed to. He held on to the ball for too long. Then he made a pass that was too way over hit to Martinelli, which then kind of scuppered the attack. So I think he really needs to do better with that. And then moving on to the topic of the player we've been linked with, which, as you mentioned, is young Benjamin Tesco.
What is it with the Tesco name? Is it that he's like not
Tesco's
quite the real deal?
Tesco value.
I said fine. Yo, France said value.
Not finest. Not finest. No, he's in the back. He's probably gone off for about 2 days, and you reach in there. You reach.
He's got the yellow sticker.
Yeah,
he's got the yellow label expiring tomorrow. Expiring.
It's already gone.
Not even tomorrow. Expiring today. Them self-destruct yellow labels.
It's the best before. It's not expiring.
It's gone. Bro. It's gone.
All of the veg is weeping. It's looking moody. Struggling for dear life.
Cost of living crisis, guys.
Yeah, cost of living crisis.
The veg, when you look at the veg and the veg needs some chlorophyll, it's a bad day.
Whoa.
Nah, it's wild.
Bad
it's
day.
all wild. Okay, well, France made the point that is this the guy we really want, if he shares 7 goals just like the way Havertz does. However, if he was to come in and Arsenal were to secure a loan deal with a buy option, as opposed to this report claims rumors that Leipzig obviously would want an obligation. If we could secure a loan with a buy option, would you two go for that, or would you still rather pursue somebody else who can impact our season now? Do we need somebody? Do you not believe we can genuinely change things around if we sign top quality now, or would you sign a potential stopgap, depending on how much you rate Sesko, now to help us progress? Either way, we'd be signing a striker to help us, do something mad. But yeah, what do you think? Would you take Sesko on these terms? Non-techie and then France.
Yeah, the terms are a bit weird, if I'm going to be honest. A loan with a buy option in January doesn't sound very appeasing to the Red Bull group, given that they're halfway through the season, they're 4th in the Bundesliga, They want to secure their Champions League spaces. So it's either Arsenal are lowballing again, or I can't really believe that buy option. Like, it would seem the buy option maybe has a bit more detail to be unearthed about it, potentially with a significant proportion up front as a cash option, for example. Either way, if we're going to do anything this season, given that we're effectively out of the Carabao Cup, we're out of the FA Cup, we've only got the Champions League and Premier League to play for, it has to be now. And if you think about, okay, well, why does it have to be Sesko? Well, we're not getting Isak, and we're definitely not getting Isak in January. Newcastle will not want to sell in the summer to someone they consider to be a rival. If we would have gotten Isak, we should have gotten him in his Real Sociedad days, if I'm going to be honest. We seem to be buying up that whole club. And remember there was a time a few summers ago, like it seemed like he was on Oxford Street. You know, Arsenal fans do their sleeping and they followed a car around and whatnot.
Yeah.
It appeared he was available then, clearly because Newcastle got him. So
Yeah.
we can't
Because
be
he
in
was
this position
shopping, he
where,
must have been
yeah, we can't be in this position where we're looking at players once they move on to big clubs. If January is the time to do it, and we are currently how many points behind Liverpool? 4 points, and I think we've
4
got a game in
points.
hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only January, and that deficit can be that gap can be made up. Liverpool are probably yet to have any major injuries in their squad in the way we have injuries in our squad. I know they've got some long-term absentees, for example, but it's been Saka and Odegaard who've really been driving this season, and they haven't really had injuries to Salah like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if there's ground to be made up, we need a striker because we're making chances, we're not converting them.
Yep, 100% making transfers not for the window we're in and for the future. And yet, yeah, Tesco, France, would you take this type of deal if it's on loan with a buy option?
So actually, a loan with a buy option is quite favourable for us. But funnily enough, I echo the sentiments Nonteki gave. I don't see this deal happening for all of the reasons he mentioned. If it was to happen, I can't see it. If it was to happen, the terms would have to be either quite stringent in terms of the amount of money that they receive for this loan, or it would have to change to an obligation to buy. Now, again, the terms of that buy option would probably be stiff as well, which would be the only reason why you could coax him out of Leipzig. But let's say these terms were doable, right? My problem is that with Arsenal, the moment we seem to get somebody in the door, whether it be on loan or whatever the case may be, but even on loan, it seems like the dealer's already set. The moment Arteta sets his mind on somebody, the dealer's already set. It generally doesn't matter how they perform or whatever the case may be. I don't want to use any more recent examples, but you can use your imagination. But it is a massive problem. Also, Arsenal have a huge history of wasting money by, rather than buying the most talented top level individual in that position in any given season that they require it, they go with some subpar option. Some guy who they think that they can leave in the microwave to cook, and then eventually the guy will come out good. That doesn't make sense. And even if you think it did make sense, it hasn't worked most of the time. And it leaves us short. And you only have to look across at, say, Liverpool with Darwin Núñez as a prime example of a club that is quite similar to Arsenal in terms of the way they do business, and how that individual who hasn't necessarily performed has been there for a long, long time. You can look at Timo Werner, who was at Chelsea for a while. Well, now he's found his home at a certain club who, you know, they're also not great. They're down the road, whatever. But again, these mistakes are very costly for Arsenal. They're not necessarily that costly for other teams. I think there was talk of potentially Man United looking to get rid of some of their strikers, possibly Xerxes. Marcus Rashford looks like he's going, although Marcus Rashford was there for a very long time. So you have to be careful. If you're going to get a player, go and get the right person who is a bagsman. I'm not saying wait 5-6 years to go and get somebody. Go and get the best person or best people available this window. We know about release clauses. Go and speak to those players, put the money down, walk out of Waitrose with a good deal.
Yep, that's the moral of the story. Walk out of Waitrose, not Tesco, with the Tesco value yellow label meals, people. And with that, we'll seamlessly transition on to Aston Villa. as non-techie mentioned, Liverpool dropped points. The gap is closing or has closed a tiny bit, even though they have a game in hand. I like to call that 7 points, even though it's 4 for now. But I like to call that 7. All of our ops dropped points. Forest did, Chelsea. Actually, that fool at Forest, what's his name, man? Is it Aina? What's his name? That Forest player, Ada, he's so funny. He was like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know whose L this is. Like, he's taking a big L today. Literally, he's hilarious. But Forest dropped points, Chelsea, City, and we go to one of Arteta's biggest thorns in his side, which is Unai Emery. He gets a number on him almost every single time without fail. And they also have a striker that, some of our fans are interested in Duran too, who's been on fire this season. So, I mean, we'll get into squad builder, but quickly from both of you, how do you fancy our chances in this game? And would you set up any differently, France, and then non-techie? And when I say set up, I mean tactics, like, so not squad selection, but tactic wise.
So let's just set the stage off right. We have to beat them. Again, Arteta's put Arsenal in this position. The players have put Arsenal in this position. Declan Rice was talking the other day after the match and was saying there's a difference between the fans online. Mostly, it looks like he was probably directing this a lot at AFTV.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between the fans on the pitch. And I want to say to Declan Rice, it was fantastic or whatever the case may be. But let's be very clear here. We talked about Tesco a little earlier. You wouldn't on a regular basis want that out-of-date sandwich or whatever the case may be. It's going off today. But if you are starving, you will take it. Those fans who are in the stadium that go to watch, they spent their hard-earned money. If you're on odds to score, yes, they will shout and jubilate and get out of their seats and do all of that. I've also been in the stadium and seen the fans being completely quiet while a small section of away fans in the little corner have made much more noise than Arsenal fans because of the horrendous performances that we've had. I've even seen that in the Carabao Cup when we're facing mediocre opposition. So Arsenal cut that out. We need to go to Aston Villa and we need to show them what's happening. We need to show them what they have taken points off us and helped other teams to stop us from winning the league.
I mean, they've ruined our league chances. Yeah, they did.
And again, we know that the leagues with the type of teams and the way that they're performing in this day and age, the Cities and then the Liverpools mean that it's fine margin. So potentially you could have a very good season, lose only a few games, and it really be the end of it. We know, we get it. But you're a manager, so you should get it. Yeah. You're the player, so you should understand that. You're talking about a manager that was sacked from Arsenal, and yet every opportunity that you two have to face each other, he's shown you what real management looks like. People keep talking about, Unai Emery wasn't good. He wasn't given enough time. And then at the end of the day,
all money.
He goes, all money. Players were put on his menu, were put on his plates without him wanting those players whatsoever. It's stark contrast to what's happening to Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. I don't want to talk too long. The bottom line is deliver. We should be playing kind of like what we did in the Tottenham game. But as non-techie has said, you need to be smarter about it because that team is going to play a lot more tactically than Tottenham will.
Mm.
Tottenham don't understand football or tactical football. They don't. You can see it in their play. It's why they are where they are. It's cock and ball FC. We know about that. Aston Villa will come out and play very, very differently. So we really have to play a different game. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that summarizes it perfectly. Non-techie, what are you saying on that?
Yeah, same for me. You always expect a tough battle. I don't know with Villa. It felt like Emery. Don't get me wrong, he's a great coach, and you only need to look at his like honours lists, like understand that. But when he sets up against Arsenal, it just feels like there's something different in that. So it's really hard to know which way it goes.
It
Um,
feels like personal, doesn't it?
it
Mm.
really does. In terms of how it's set up different tactically, I think I alluded to this, but I'll probably just explain it a bit more explicitly here. I actually think we're one of the teams that largely sets up the same way. It's the opposition that we play that makes us look different. And so, with that in mind, I think we have the same approach. That said, when it comes to the position where we're facing low blocks, I think we have to do that thing we discussed it earlier, where we commit maybe a defender to overlap. You know, Declan Rice will do the underlapping runs. If Marino should play, he'll get in the box as well. But we need to trust like Gabriel Saliba to defend one on one against the likes of Duran and whatnot. So yeah, I think tactically, I'd probably make that tweak. This is a stage in the season where we really need to push on, stop conceding first, and gamble and get that first goal and turn the
Yeah,
game into our favour.
yeah. I really think we need to go for the 45 minutes and get goals in the first
Mm,
45. We have to do that, and also to the question I asked earlier, I don't think we get away with as many missed chances as we did against Tottenham due to their tactical play. Don't get me wrong, I do think we played well yesterday as well. However, with the chances missed, the conversion rates, if we play like that against Villa and just don't score, they will score. It's like
mm.
FIFA. You know them ones. You're playing against Real Madrid. You're picking Arsenal. You're having bare shots, and Jesus is skying it wide, and then Real Madrid, Mbappe will curl it in from somewhere, 35 yards out, just top bins, one shot, one goal. So we've got to play. We've got to play and use any chance we've got. Havertz needs to get confidence back. All right, squad builder. Let's do it. Let's do lineups for the game, and then we'll do score predictions and round up. Again, drop a like and sub to be a part of the NLG fam. You know what it is.
This is a little better than last time.
What do you mean in terms of
In terms of the
I
starting
mean,
point.
I'll tell you
guys,
about this,
Because
man.
last time,
we said, what do
I'll
you
tell
mean?
you about this, man. It's not even a predicted 11. It's a predictable 11. Like just
I
we
think
don't.
that is what to call it, predictable 11. So let's kick off. Neto.
You see,
Neto's not seeing any minutes, man.
it is not seeing no minutes.
It's a joke.
No
Honesty.
minutes. Defense. Any
Picks
changes?
itself. I
No
think it
changes.
picks itself. Can I
It
just
has
say,
a
I
lot.
think we rightly likened Lewis Skelly to Partey, and I agree with that, by the way. But he's got some of that aggression and maybe shielding of the ball that Timber has in his locker. I think
True.
Partey kind of like he'll evade you, but he won't let you touch him. Whereas Timber
Yeah.
will almost like
That's
use you
true.
and
Yep.
aggressively roll you. And I
Yeah,
really love that about Lewis Skelly. It just felt like he was inverted on the other side.
I hear it. Like Timber sometimes does this kind of like low center of gravity, like move around you and like move into space. He tried
Mm.
it one time yesterday and got dispossessed, but like, yeah, that's a core part of his game. I really do hear that. The midfield three, which I think is technically where most change potentially could happen in terms of where people are placed. What would you do in this game, given that Aston Villa will be able to help us on attack and counters? What do you go with?
Pretty much the same. I think you
Yeah.
need to go Partey, Odegaard, Rice.
Yeah. So it's easily our best midfield. And surprisingly, when you look back at the games, they actually haven't played as often as you might think.
No.
Those
That
Not
three.
feels like it's
together.
our first choice midfield, and they really haven't played that long ago. Can I just say, like, again, Rice felt like back in the day in the 90s, 2000s, when teams used to play 4-4-2 and you had a centre mid that would do both jobs, but do it so well. I feel like there was a stage in the second half he made a tackle and then he intercepted and he made another tackle and he just doesn't mind being at the other end of the pitch where we go
Yeah.
forward. So yeah, this is the midfield for me.
Amazing. The front three, which also leaves us not much choice, but maybe there's something you'll surprise me with.
How?
Well, there's options on the left. There's Martinelli,
It has
Trossard.
to. It has to. Listen, I would prefer Martinelli for his pace element.
So you could play both
But-
Martinelli and Trossard.
Well, and
Besides
this is
Yeah.
and this is the thing. If you play Trossard in the center, play Martinelli out left, and then play Sterling on the right, but then Trossard and Martinelli have the freedom to interchange depending on the situation. That could work.
Mhm.
But the thing I really wonder about is whether Rice and Erdegaard will actually feed these two enough, or even the front three enough for them to actually be able to really, because Havertz honestly really is not doing it at the moment. He really isn't. And he is a confidence type of player at the moment. And I think if he doesn't have that right now.
No.
So that would be my front three. But I'm also open to sort of any opinions on that. What do you guys think?
Can we pop it in and then see what it looks like, whether it feels right?
So you're saying Trossard in the middle?
Or even or anybody in the middle, actually. You could go Martinelli in the middle.
Okay.
He's slightly taller. But let's do this. Let's start with this and then we'll change it if we need to.
You know, I love the way we're approaching this because as we're doing it, I feel like Trossard could float false nine, what have you. And it depends on the game that we want to play, and it depends on how Villa will play.
Yeah.
The
And in a
centre backs
way,
we will be coming up against are Tyrone Mings and Ezra Konsa.
yeah.
Honestly, if Lewis Skelly pushes up and doesn't invert but rather overlaps, Martinelli can push inside, and then Rice steps up a bit, and then we can have an overload of attacking options.
I had the same thought.
Erdegaard can pick up the ball. He can spray passes either over the top or through the middle towards a Sterling cutting in, a Trossard, or a Martinelli that cuts in. Like the options are there. The tactics are often off. It's fear. It's Arsenal play with such a fear factor.
Yeah.
We play like we are literally I think our average age is about 25. Like the average age of the team is 25. It's probably heavily skewed by Partey and Jorginho and Sterling now. But these guys are quite young. But we play like the senior, like the geriatric team. It's insane.
Just in terms of that matchup, though, Trossard versus Mings and Konsa is a
Is
mismatch physically.
I was just gonna say
Yes.
the same. This is the trouble you have. And yeah, this
He
front
has to-
three, you've got two Donnies who are out of form and one Donny who can barely get minutes. Not that it matters because a whole lot of them really aren't doing too much. And I feel like we saw glimpses of how Martinelli can capitalize down the middle, like when Trossard played the ball in for him. A couple of times Martinelli found himself down that middle wing, the middle wing that 691 said. But yeah, I don't know. Would you stick with Trossard or switch out for Havertz?
Non-techie, what do you think?
You know what it is? I'm saying Havertz just because he has height, but I need to challenge myself and say, like, who's actually been a better player? And in as much as, okay, the bar's low, in as much as Trossard hasn't been amazing, even taking his goal away, he's a much more effective footballer. It's just that I know Aston Villa do acknowledge the defensive side of the game and do it very well. If they defend deep with two banks, how is Trossard getting any joy? I wonder.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's make the switch. I see it.
I really could see the Trossard one. My only thing as well is just the level of greed in that front three. But all three of these
head down.
players sometimes hold on to the ball for way too long. Like, say what you want about Havertz, he's not a good striker, but he does. Now, there was an opportunity yesterday in which he played a pass. He's right in front of goal. He should have just gone for the shot. He played a pass backwards. I was like, what are you doing?
Nah, you need to be greedy there.
But
he's got no confidence and he doesn't believe in his ability. He doesn't believe he's a striker.
Yeah, well, Listen, score predictions. France, what are you saying?
2-1 Arsenal.
Okay, non-techie.
I've never got one of these right. 1-0 Arsenal.
1-0 Arsenal. I'm gonna go 1-1. People, that's the squad builder. I've gone 1-1. France has gone 2-1, and non-techie has gone. What did you go?
1-0.
1-0. All right, 1-0 to the Arsenal. That would be a great result if we can get a clean sheet. And listen, that's it. We've gone for the standard back four and goalkeeper Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly, midfield Partey, Odegaard, and Rice as the eights. Havertz, who needs to get back into form, and then on the flanks, well, we've got no choice pretty much, minus Trossard, Martinelli, and Sterling. And yeah, honestly, I think whoever starts this front line and this team need to play themselves back into form, and no better way than Villa, really, to get that started. But people, I appreciate you all. Like I said, like and subscribe to be a part of the NLG fam, and let's hope we get a win this weekend. I'll catch you lot in a bit.
Take care.
Take care.
In a bit.